The words hit me like a slap across the face, in the middle of my sister's baby shower. Damaged goods. My Aunt Patricia whispered to my mother, just loud enough for me to hear, across the pink-draped table. Too broken to ever have children. My fingers tightened around my teacup, so hard I thought the delicate porcelain might crack. 30 women, in pastel dresses, surrounded us, cooing over tiny onesies, and debating stroller brands. And not one of them flinched at those words, because they all believed it. Every single person, in this room, had spent the last 5 years believing I was broken, barren, incomplete. My name is Rebecca. I'm 41, and I'm the CEO of a $347 million medical equipment company. This is the story of how I showed my family exactly how wrong they were about me. My mother noticed my white-knuckled grip and patted my hand with that particular expression of pity I'd grown to hate. The same expression she'd worn at every holiday dinner, every birthday celebration, every family gathering for the past 5 years. It's okay to grieve what you've lost, sweetheart. To mourn the children you'll never have. I'm not mourning, Mom. Denial is a natural part of grief. I remembered the exact moment this narrative had taken hold. 3 weeks after my accident, still bruised and healing, I'd sat in my hospital room while my mother sobbed at my bedside. The doctor had mentioned, not declared, that the abdominal trauma might affect my fertility. Could possibly, but my mother had heard. She'd called my sister that same night, crying about how I'd lost my chance at motherhood. By the time I was discharged, the entire family had already written my story. Poor Rebecca, barren Rebecca, broken Rebecca. You know, Mom continued, squeezing my hand. Your father and I have been talking. We think you should see someone, a therapist who specializes in grief counseling for women who can't have children. I don't need grief counseling. There's no shame in getting help, sweetheart. What you're going through, it's a profound loss. The loss of your future, the loss of the family you'll never have. Aunt Patricia nodded sagely. My friend Dorothy went through something similar. She said, "The grief never really goes away. You just learn to live with the emptiness." The emptiness. As if my life were a hollow shell, a vacant room waiting for children that would never come. My sister Olivia glowed at the center of the room, one hand resting on her pregnant belly, accepting congratulations like a queen receiving tribute. She was 3 years younger than me, and had spent our entire lives in quiet competition, though she'd never admit it. When I graduated summa laude, she got engaged the same week. When I got my first promotion, she announced her first pregnancy. And now, while she believed I was barren and alone, she was having her moment of ultimate victory. She caught my eye across the pink-decorated room, and her expression shifted to something she probably thought was compassion, but looked more like satisfaction, poorly disguised. "I want everyone to know," Olivia announced, standing with some difficulty, her pregnant belly prominent beneath her designer maternity dress, "that I don't take this blessing for granted. My ability to become a mother. I know how precious it is." Her gaze found me again, holding it for a long, pointed moment, especially seeing what my sister has lost. The room turned toward me with synchronized pity. 30 faces wearing matching expressions of sorrowful sympathy. "I hope," she continued, her voice thick with false emotion, "that being an aunt to my daughter will give you some small taste of motherhood, Rebecca. It won't be the same. Obviously, nothing could replace actually being a mother, but it's something, a consolation at least." "That's beautiful," Mom said, dabbing her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. "So generous of you to include Rebecca in your daughter's life, given her circumstances. Her circumstances, like I was a charity case, like my entire existence could be summarized by a single medical consultation 5 years ago." I thought about all the times Olivia had made similar comments over the years. Last Christmas, when she'd rubbed her newly pregnant belly and said, I wish you could experience this feeling, Rebecca. There's nothing like it. Easter brunch, when she'd announced they were having a girl, and added, I know this must be hard for you to hear. My own birthday dinner, when she'd given me a card that read to the world's best future aunt, with a note inside about how some women are meant to nurture other people's children. Every single time wrapped in the language of compassion. Every single time a reminder of what she believed I'd lost, and she'd gained. My cousin Miranda leaned in, her perfume overwhelming. Have you considered adoption? I know it's not the same as having your own children, but it's better than nothing. There are so many children who need homes, Aunt Patricia added, nodding vigorously. And since you can't have biological children, adoption could give your life purpose, something to fill the void. My life has purpose. Does it? Mom's voice carried that gentle devastation she'd perfected over decades of subtle criticism. Rebecca, you're 41 years old. You've built a career. Yes. But at the end of the day, you go home to an empty house. No husband, no children, just work. Is that really a life? I remembered her saying something similar at Thanksgiving last year. Work can't keep you warm at night, Rebecca, and at my cousin's wedding. Don't you want someone to grow old with? Someone to take care of you when you're gone? The implication always clear. My life as I'd built it wasn't enough. Could never be enough. I checked my watch. 2:51 p.m. 9 more minutes. I'd texted Nathan the venue address that morning, along with a photo of the invitation, so he'd know exactly where to find us. I know it's hard to hear, Mom continued, her voice rising enough to draw attention from nearby tables. But someone needs to be honest with you. You've been avoiding the reality of your situation for 5 years. It's time to face facts. What facts specifically? That you're alone. That you'll always be alone. That the accident didn't just damage your body. It damaged your future. It took everything from you. My aunt nodded with the confidence of someone who'd never questioned her own assumptions. Your mother's right. You need to accept what happened and move forward. Maybe therapy could help. Learning to grieve properly. There are support groups for women like you. Women like me. The phrase echoed in my mind. I'd heard variations of it for years. Women who can't have children. Women who've lost their chance. Women who have to find other ways to feel fulfilled. The baby shower games continued around us, guessing birth weights, matching celebrity babies to parents, blindfolded taste tests of baby food. I participated when required, smiled when expected, and watched the minutes tick by. At 2:58, Mom stood and addressed the room, like she was delivering a eulogy at my funeral. I'm sorry to get emotional, everyone. It's hard watching my daughter suffer, watching her pretend she's okay when she's so clearly broken. 30 women stared at me with naked pity. 5 years ago, Rebecca was in a terrible accident, a car crash. A drunk driver ran a red light and hit her broadside. Mom's voice cracked. The doctors saved her life, but they couldn't save her ability to have children. The damage was too severe, too permanent. The silence in the room was suffocating. I could feel every eye on me, cataloging my reaction, waiting to see me crumble. She's been so brave about it, Mom continued, tears flowing freely now. So stoic, but I'm her mother. I know she's hurting. I know she's broken inside, even if she won't admit it. Damaged goods, Aunt Patricia repeated, shaking her head sadly. It's just so tragic. She had so much potential. Had, past tense as if I'd already died. 29, 1 more minute. I smiled. Not the polite smile I'd been wearing all afternoon, but something genuine, something anticipatory, something that made my mother pause mid-sob. Rebecca, why are you smiling? No reason. The door to the garden room opened at exactly 3 p.m. Selena walked through first, pushing a custom triple stroller that cost more than most people's monthly rent. Inside sat my 2-year-old triplets, Grace, Daniel, and Faith, wearing coordinating outfits I'd picked out that morning. 3 perfect toddlers with dark curls and bright eyes, looking around the pink-decorated room with curiosity. Behind Selena, my husband walked in carrying our 6-month-old twins. Dr. Nathan Whitmore, chief of neurosurgery at Massachusetts General Hospital, still in his scrubs, because he'd come directly from a craniotomy. He held our son William in his left arm and our daughter Claire in his right. Both babies were awake and alert, their tiny fists gripping his shirt. Every head in the room turned. The silence was absolute, the kind of silence that follows an explosion when everyone is too stunned to react. "Sorry I'm late, darling," Nathan said, crossing the room to kiss me. His lips were warm against mine. Familiar after 4 years of marriage, the surgery ran long. Complex aneurysm repair. How's the patient? Stable. Good prognosis. Dr. Martinez is monitoring her recovery. Mom's teacup slipped from her fingers and shattered on the floor. The crash seemed to break everyone's paralysis, though no one moved to clean it up. They were all too busy staring. Selena brought the stroller to our table. Grace spotted me and reached up immediately, her face breaking into the smile she reserved just for me. "Mama." I lifted her onto my hip, breathing in the familiar scent of baby shampoo and the strawberry snacks she loved. "Hi, sweetheart. Did you have fun with Selena?" Daniel and Faith followed suit, both reaching for me, both wanting hugs. I knelt down to embrace all 3 of them, my heart full in a way my family had never believed possible. "Did you miss me?" I asked, kissing each curly head. "Missed Mama?" Faith confirmed solemnly. "We've only been apart for 2 hours. "Long time," Daniel said seriously, his brow furrowed in a perfect imitation of his father's expression. Nathan handed me Claire while keeping William. Our daughter nestled against my chest, her tiny fingers finding my necklace immediately. They were perfect as always. Selena said they ate all their lunch, even the vegetables. "Every bite," Selena confirmed with a smile. "These 3 are very good eaters, and the twins. William took 6 ounces. Claire took 5. Both had nice naps." "You're a treasure, Selena." "It's my pleasure, Mrs. Whitmore. These babies are angels." Olivia had gone pale. Her hand gripped the arm of her chair so tightly, her knuckles had turned white. "Rebecca!" Her voice came out strangled. "Who are, sorry to interrupt your shower," I said, adjusting Claire in my arms while Grace clung to my other side. "But I needed to feed the twins. They're on a strict schedule. Routine is important for infant development." "The twins?" Mom repeated faintly. She hadn't moved from where she stood. Her eulogy interrupted mid-delivery. "You have twins? 6-month-old twins?" "Yes. William and Claire. And these are my 2-year-old triplets, Grace, Daniel, and Faith. 5 children." Aunt Patricia's voice cracked on the words. "You have 5 children?" "I do." Nathan smiled at the assembled women, his easy confidence filling the room. He'd given keynote speeches to thousands of medical professionals. 30 stunned baby shower guests didn't faze him. "I'm Dr. Nathan Whitmore, Rebecca's husband, chief of neurosurgery at Mass General. Sorry to crash the party, but our nanny texted that the twins were getting fussy." "Husband," Miranda repeated mechanically, her face frozen in shock. "We've been married 4 years. Small ceremony in Martha's Vineyard, just close friends and colleagues. We didn't want a big fuss." "4 years," Mom whispered. "You've been married for 4 years?" "That's right. We met at a hospital fundraiser. I was there representing my company. We manufacture surgical equipment. Nathan was the keynote speaker. We started talking about spinal surgery innovations, and didn't stop. 3 hours later, we'd closed down the bar and exchanged numbers. Nathan laughed, the sound warm and genuine. She knew more about neurosurgical tools than most of my residents. I was impressed and intimidated. Honestly, I'd never met anyone who could explain the biomechanics of spinal fusion better than the surgeons who performed them. He was brilliant, I said, and kind, and funny. He made me laugh so hard that night, I spilled wine on my dress. 6 months later, he proposed on the same beach, where we'd had our first real date. 6 months, Olivia said. That's so fast. When you know, Nathan said, shifting William to his other arm. And with Rebecca, I knew immediately. I knew she was the woman I wanted to build a life with, the woman I wanted to raise children with. Grace tugged on my necklace. Mama juice. Selena brought your sippy cups, sweetheart. Selena retrieved 3 sippy cups from the diaper bag, a custom designer bag that matched the stroller. She handed them out to the triplets with practiced efficiency, then pulled out toys and snacks to keep them occupied. The accident, Mom finally managed, her voice barely above a whisper. The doctors said I'd have trouble conceiving naturally, I corrected. Not that I'd never have children. There's a significant difference. A difference you never bothered to verify. But you told us. I told you the doctors were concerned about my fertility. That's exactly what I said. You decided that meant I'd never have children. I didn't correct you because, frankly, I was tired of your constant interference in my personal life. Interference? Mom's voice rose defensively. What interference? Every phone call asking if I was dating anyone. Every holiday dinner where you tried to set me up with someone's son, or nephew, or coworker. Every comment about my biological clock, my career choices, my lifestyle. I wanted privacy. Peace. So when you jumped to conclusions about my fertility, I let you. I let you believe what you wanted to believe. You let us think you were barren. Aunt Patricia looked horrified, as if I'd committed some unforgivable sin. For 5 years, I let you think what you wanted to think. And what did you think? That I was broken, damaged, incomplete. That my life had no purpose without children. That I was... what was the phrase? I paused, letting the moment stretch. Damaged goods. The words hung in the air like a verdict. We were concerned about you, Mom started. You were judgmental. You were condescending. You were so convinced you knew better than me about my own body, my own life, my own future. There's a difference between concern and control. Mom, you've never learned it. Nathan pulled out his phone. I'm going to show you something. Do you all have Instagram? Confused nods around the room. Look up Dr. Nathan Whitmore. That's me with an underscore between the names. Multiple women pulled out their phones, grateful for something to do with their hands, something to look at besides the train wreck unfolding in front of them. Oh my God, Miranda breathed, her eyes widening as she scrolled. Nathan's Instagram was public. 12,000 followers, mostly medical professionals, and patients who followed his surgical success stories. But scattered among the craniotomies and neuroscience articles were personal photos of us. Our wedding in Martha's Vineyard. Both of us barefoot on the beach at sunset. My dress billowing in the ocean breeze. The triplets as newborns. 3 tiny bundles in the NICU, surrounded by monitors, and hope. Nathan holding all 3 of them for the first time. Tears streaming down his face. Family photos from Christmas morning. The triplets tearing into presents while I held Claire, and Nathan held William. Easter egg hunts in our backyard. Summer vacation in Santorini. The triplets building sandcastles while the Mediterranean sparkled behind them. The twins' birth announcement. Elegant and joyful. 4 years of our life together, documented publicly for anyone who cared enough to look. You've been posting this publicly for years, Olivia said, still scrolling through the photos. Anyone could have found it. Anyone could have seen. Anyone who bothered to look, but none of you did. You were so convinced I was living a sad, empty life that you never thought to actually check. Not once in 4 years did any of you Google my name, search for me on social media, or make any effort to verify your assumptions. Rebecca has over 40,000 followers on her own Instagram, Nathan added. Her company's account has 200,000. The photos are all there. The wedding, the pregnancies, the children, our life. It's been public the whole time. What company? Mom asked weakly. Whitmore Medical Solutions. I founded it 9 years ago, right after the accident. Actually, I used my settlement money as seed capital. We manufacture advanced surgical equipment, particularly for neurosurgery and orthopedics. We're the leading supplier for 17 major hospital networks, including Mass General, Johns Hopkins, the Cleveland Clinic. Olivia was typing on her phone, her fingers trembling. Oh my God! This company did $340 million in revenue last year. $347 million, I corrected. And we're projecting $410 million this year. The new spinal fusion equipment line is performing exceptionally well. We just signed contracts with 3 new hospital networks last month. You own a $347 million company. I own 73% of it. We have venture capital investors who own the rest, but I maintain controlling interest. So, yes, essentially, I own a $347 million company. Mom sat down heavily in the nearest chair. Her face had gone gray. How? How did we not know any of this? Because you never asked. You decided I was broken and alone, and you stopped seeing me as anything else. You stopped asking real questions. You stopped listening to the answers I gave. And because my professional life is under my married name, Rebecca Whitmore, which none of you would have thought to search. But we talk all the time. Do we? When's the last time you asked about my work? My actual work? Not your assumption that I had some sad little job to distract me from my empty life. She had no answer. At Christmas, I continued. You asked if I was still doing that medical thing. That was your exact phrase. That medical thing. Like it was a hobby. Like it was something I did to pass the time between crying sessions about my barren womb. I said, yes. You said, that's nice, dear. And changed the subject to Olivia's pregnancy. You didn't ask what my company does. You didn't ask how it was going. You didn't ask anything. I thought you were a medical device sales rep or something small, Mom protested weakly. I didn't realize. You didn't realize because you didn't ask. I'm the founder and CEO of a major medical manufacturing company. I have 400 employees. I've been featured in Forbes and Fast Company and Healthcare Business Monthly. But you never asked for details because you'd already decided my life was empty and meaningless without a husband and children. Daniel tugged on Nathan's scrubs. Daddy, park. After Mama's done here, buddy, then we'll go to the park. We'll feed the ducks. Promise. Cross my heart. Nathan made an X over his chest, and Daniel mimicked the gesture solemnly. Olivia was still scrolling through Nathan's Instagram, her face cycling through expressions. Shock, disbelief, something that looked almost like grief. There are photos from your vacation in Greece. Last summer, you took the triplets to Santorini. We rented a villa for 2 weeks. 6 bedrooms, private pool, view of the caldera. The triplets loved the beach. We spent every morning building sandcastles, and every evening watching the sunset from our terrace. Must have cost a fortune, about $40,000 for 2 weeks, including the private chef and the boat excursion to the volcano. But we'd been planning it for months, and the kids deserved a special trip. They'd been such troopers during Claire and William's pregnancy. $40,000, she whispered, for a vacation. We also have a house in the Berkshires, Nathan added. 5 bedrooms right on the lake. Private dock, kayaks, a fire pit for s'mores. We go most weekends during summer. The kids love it there. Grace is already learning to swim. And your primary residence? Miranda asked, her voice barely audible. Beacon Hill, historic townhouse, circa 1847, 7 bedrooms. We had it completely renovated last year. We needed the space for the triplets. And then when we found out about the twins, We were grateful for the extra rooms. Beacon Hill townhouses start at $4 million, someone murmured. Ours was $7.2 million, Nathan confirmed casually. But Rebecca paid cash, so we negotiated a small discount. The sellers preferred the certainty of a quick closing. Mom made a sound like all the air had been punched from her lungs. The nanny, Aunt Patricia said, looking at Selena with new eyes. You have a full-time nanny? Selena is our primary nanny. She's been with us since the triplets were 3 months old. She's family, really. I smiled at Selena, who nodded graciously. We also have Elena, who handles nights and weekends when Selena's off, and Clara, who helps during the week when I'm traveling for business. It takes a village, as they say. 3 nannies, Olivia said faintly. 5 children require a lot of support, especially with Nathan's surgical schedule, and my responsibilities to the company. We believe in paying people well for excellent childcare. Our nannies are compensated far above market rate with full benefits, paid vacation, and retirement contributions. They're professionals, and we treat them as such. Faith started squirming in my arms. Down, Mama. I sat her down, keeping a hand on her back as she toddled over to the massive pink cake shaped like a baby carriage. It dominated the center table. 5 tiers of fondant and roses. Cake? She asked hopefully, her eyes wide. This is Aunt Olivia's cake, sweetheart. It's for her party. Faith considered. Cake for baby. Yes, it's for Aunt Olivia's baby. We have cupcakes at home, I reminded her. Chocolate with sprinkles, just how you like them. Her face lit up. Cupcakes better? Much better. And you can help me make the frosting. Okay. She toddled back to me, satisfied with this promise, and I lifted her back onto my hip. Mom found her voice again. The accident. You said the doctors were concerned about your fertility. What exactly did they say? They said the abdominal trauma had caused some scarring that might affect my ability to conceive naturally. They recommended I consult with a reproductive specialist when I was ready to start a family. That's all. That's the sum total of the medical prognosis you turned into a tragedy. But the way you talked about it, I talked about it honestly. You interpreted it through your own lens of catastrophe. I worked with excellent reproductive specialists, some of the best in the country. I got treatment, monitored my health, took precautions, and when Nathan and I were ready to start a family, we tried IVF. IVF, Mom repeated. In vitro fertilization. First round gave us the triplets. We'd implanted 2 embryos hoping for 1 successful pregnancy, but 1 embryo split. Surprise! Identical twins, Daniel and Faith, plus Grace from the other embryo. 3 babies at once. The doctors were amazed. I spent 6 weeks on bed rest, and they were born at 34 weeks, perfectly healthy. And the twins? Olivia asked. Claire and William. Natural conception, actually. I couldn't help smiling at the memory, the shock, the joy, the beautiful absurdity of it. We weren't even trying. Apparently, the doctor's concerns were overstated, or my body healed better than expected. Either way, 2 years after the triplets, I found out I was pregnant again with twins. Nathan smiled, pride radiating from him. She had a perfect pregnancy with William and Claire. No complications, no concerns, 7 pounds each, delivered at 39 weeks. I was in the delivery room crying like a baby myself. You never told us, Mom said. And now she was crying too. Though these tears seemed different. Any of it. The marriage, the fertility treatments, the pregnancies, your whole life. We missed your whole life. Would you have been supportive if I'd told you? Would you have respected my choices, my privacy, my right to live my own life? Or would you have interfered, offered unsolicited advice, criticized every decision, made my pregnancies about you? No answer, but her face told me she knew the truth. I wanted my pregnancies to be private, mine and Nathan's, our joy, our journey, without your commentary, or judgment, or constant comparisons to what you thought my life should look like. When I was showing, I skipped family gatherings, business trips, I said, international clients who needed me. You never questioned it because you weren't really paying attention to my life anyway. We would have been happy for you, would you? Because 2 hours ago, you stood in front of 30 people and called me broken. You listed my tragedies like a eulogy. You mourned me while I was sitting right here living a life you never bothered to see. Mom's face crumpled completely. I didn't mean. You meant exactly what you said, every word of it. You've spent 5 years pitying me, feeling superior to me, using my supposed tragedy to make yourselves feel better about your own lives. Every time things got hard for you, you could think, at least I'm not Rebecca. At least I can have children. At least my life has meaning. That's not fair, Olivia protested, though her voice was weak. Isn't it? How many times have you told people about your poor sister Rebecca, who can't have children? How many times have you brought up my supposed infertility at parties, at dinners, at family gatherings? How many times have you used my tragedy to make your own pregnancy seem more precious, more special, more appreciated? She went pale, but didn't deny it. I thought so. Selena checked her watch. Mrs. Whitmore, the twins will need their bottles soon. Let's feed them here. I want my family to see what our lives really look like. Selena prepared 2 bottles with practiced efficiency. I took one, Nathan took the other. We settled into chairs, the same chairs where my family had been pitying me moments ago, and fed the twins while the triplets played quietly with toys Selena had brought. 30 women watched in stunned silence as we performed this utterly normal act of parenting. 2 parents, 5 children, a life so full it sometimes felt like it might burst. William's eyes fluttered closed as he drank, his tiny hand wrapped around Nathan's finger. Claire watched me with the intense focus of an infant learning her world, her mother's face the most important thing in it. They're beautiful, my Aunt Susan finally said, breaking the silence. She was my father's sister, the only one who'd never participated in the pity parade. All of them just beautiful. Thank you, Aunt Susan. And you look so natural, so happy, so complete. I am happy, completely, overwhelmingly, exhaustingly happy. Mom stood abruptly, nearly knocking over her chair. I need to talk to you privately. We walked to a quiet corner of the garden room, away from the staring faces and abandoned baby shower games. She stood across from me, looking smaller than I remembered, older, defeated. I'm sorry, she said immediately, for all of it, for assuming, for judging, for pitying you, for calling you damaged goods in front of everyone, for every comment, every look, every moment of condescension over the past 5 years. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. That's all you have to say? What do you want me to say? That it's fine? That I forgive you? That we can pretend the last 5 years didn't happen? I shook my head. I'm still processing, Mom. I spent 5 years building a life while you mourned me. I had 3 babies, then 2 more, and you were too busy feeling sorry for me to notice. That's not something I can just forget. I was worried about you. You were comfortable with the idea of me being broken. It made you feel needed. It gave you something to fix, someone to pity, a role to play. Being the mother of a tragic daughter is easier than being the mother of a successful daughter who doesn't need you. She flinched like I'd struck her. I never. It's okay. I'm not saying it was conscious, but I saw how you lit up whenever you talked about my situation, how important it made you feel to be my advocate, my defender, my voice. You turned my supposed tragedy into your identity. Tears streamed down her face. Can we start over? Can I get to know my grandchildren? Please, Rebecca, give me a chance. That's up to you. What does that mean? It means you can be a loving, supportive grandmother who respects boundaries, who asks questions instead of making assumptions, who celebrates our lives instead of comparing them to what you think they should be. Or you can be an interfering, critical presence who undermines my parenting and makes everything about yourself. The choice is yours, but this is your only chance. I want to be the first one. I swear I do. Then be that. Show me. Not with words, with actions. Can I hold one of the twins, please? We walked back to the group. Nathan handed her Claire with a gentle smile, showing her how to support the baby's head. Mom looked down at her granddaughter, this grandchild she'd never known existed, and started crying all over again. She's perfect, Mom whispered. Absolutely perfect. She is. She has your eyes, your grandmother's eyes, and Nathan's nose, his chin. She traced Claire's cheek with one trembling finger, and I missed it all. The pregnancy, the birth, the first 6 months of her life. I missed all of it because I was so busy feeling sorry for you that I couldn't see what was right in front of me. You did. I'll do better. She looked up at me, her eyes raw and red. I promise you, Rebecca, I'll be the grandmother they deserve, the grandmother you deserve. Just give me the chance. I hope so, Mom. I really do. The baby shower limped toward its conclusion, but the energy had shifted completely. Instead of celebrating Olivia's impending motherhood, everyone wanted to meet my children, ask about my company, hear about my house. Olivia sat in the corner, surrounded by unopened gifts, looking lost. I felt a genuine pang of guilt. This was supposed to be her day. I walked over and sat beside her. I'm sorry I overshadowed your shower. She laughed bitterly. Don't apologize. I've been overshadowing you our whole lives. I guess this is karma. I didn't plan it this way. But when Mom called me damaged goods, when she gave that speech about my broken life, I couldn't let it stand anymore. 5 years of swallowing my tongue, of letting you all believe what you wanted to believe. I was done. 5 years. Olivia shook her head slowly. You let us think you were broken for 5 years. You let me feel superior to you for 5 years. I didn't let you feel anything. You chose to feel superior because you were pregnant, and I wasn't. Because you had a husband, and I didn't. Or so you thought. You made that choice, Olivia. Every time you brought up my situation, every time you offered to let me babysit so I could experience motherhood, every time you told me how grateful you were for your blessings, because not everyone is as lucky. That was your choice. She flinched. I thought I was being supportive. You thought you were being kind to the less fortunate. There's a difference. Would you have believed me if I'd told you the truth? If I'd said, actually, I'm married to a neurosurgeon, and we have 3 children, and I run a multi-million-dollar company. Would you have believed me, or would you have thought I was delusional, in denial, making up fantasies to cope with my tragic reality? She had no answer, but we both knew what it would have been. I'm happy for you, Nat, I said, and I meant it. Really? You're going to be a great mom. Am I? Because I look at you with 5 kids, and a company and a marriage to a neurosurgeon, and I think I can barely handle 1 baby. I'm terrified, Rebecca. Completely terrified. Everyone's terrified. That's normal. Is that what you tell yourself? It's what I know. You'll love your daughter and do your best. That's all anyone can do. The rest, you figure it out as you go. You make mistakes. You apologize. You try again. She touched her belly, feeling for the baby inside. I've been feeling so superior, so complete, because I was going to be a mother, and you weren't. I thought I'd finally beaten you at something that mattered. It's not a competition, Olivia, isn't it? Our whole lives, everything has been a competition. Grades, boyfriends, careers, parents' approval. I thought motherhood would finally be the thing I won. And instead, she looked at me, really looked at me, maybe for the first time in years. Instead, you're winning that too. 5 kids to my 1. A husband who looks at you like you hung the moon. A company, a townhouse, a life that makes mine look tiny. It's not about winning. It never was. Then what is it about? Being happy, building something meaningful, loving the people who matter. I squeezed her hand. You can still do all of that. Having 1 child doesn't make you less than. Your path isn't worse just because it's different from mine. Her eyes filled with tears. When did you become so wise? About 5 years ago, when I had to figure out who I was without my family's expectations. Nathan appeared beside us with Faith in his arms. Someone wants to sit on Olivia. Faith toddled over and climbed carefully into Olivia's lap, mindful of her pregnant belly. She placed one small hand on the rounded surface. Baby in there? Faith asked, her eyes wide. Yes, sweetheart, your new cousin. I be nice to baby. Share toys. That's very generous. Faith nodded solemnly. Mama says sharing is good, even when it's hard. Olivia looked at me over Faith's head, her eyes glistening. You're raising them right. I'm trying. Every day I'm trying. We stayed for another hour. The triplets charmed everyone with their manners and their matching curls. The twins slept peacefully in their stroller, oblivious to the emotional earthquake that had just reshaped our family. Nathan told surgical stories that made the nurses in attendance swoon, and the rest of the room lean in with fascination. As we prepared to leave, I noticed Aunt Patricia standing alone by the gift table, her face unreadable. She'd been the one to first call me damaged goods, and she hadn't said a word since the revelation. When our eyes met, she looked away quickly, busying herself with straightening ribbons on presents that didn't need straightening. Mom pulled me aside one final time. Thanksgiving, she said, her voice tentative. Will you come, all of you? I considered the request, considered the 5 years of pity, the assumptions, the casual cruelty dressed up as concern. But also, she was my mother. These were my children's grandmother. Family wasn't something you could choose, but how you engaged with them was. I'll think about it. Please, Rebecca, let me start making this right. Let me know my grandchildren. I looked at her, really looked at her, at the tears in her eyes, the genuine remorse, the desperate hope. She was flawed. She'd hurt me, but she was also human, and humans made mistakes. We'll come, I said finally. But Mom, if you criticize my parenting, question my choices, compare my children to Olivia's, or make any comment about how I'm raising my family, we'll leave immediately without discussion, without second chances. I understand. And if you ever call,